Hi, this is Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart, and today is Friday, April 15th, 2016. In this video, I want to take a look at the marijuana stocks, cannabis stocks. Member Blue Magic a few weeks back had posted, asked my opinion on three of his or her favorites, and my response then is what it will be now. I cannot impress upon the fact how important, how risky these can be, because the majority of these, not all, but most of these are small cap. They're penny stocks. I should say they're beyond the small cap level. I've got a couple here on my board that are, 50. I'm looking at a $200 million stock. A couple of them, not the one on the screen, but a lot of these are just no earnings, very little prospects. But with that being said, there's movement in the sector. You guys know me. I'm an equal opportunity trader. Long, short, don't care where the sector is. I'm just looking where to make money. And, I've continually posted these in the trading room, quite a bit of updates and some of the individual setups. And like the shippers, I've taken a shotgun approach because of the very high risk. In other words, I take very small amounts, not more than I'm willing to lose on any one position. But I do see movement in the sector, and that's why I'm doing this video at this point in time. Apparently the sector's getting a bid, and as I often say, birds of a feather flock together. So right now there's money to be made. If you are a risk-adverse investor, I would just stop this video here. If you want to watch it for educational purposes, which really is everything on the site technically is anyways, but you do what you want with these trade ideas. Take them, paper trade them, watch them. But with that being said, let's dive into the charts. Like I said, a lot of those, the few names that I put up are doing really great. A lot of these names are up, 70, 60, 70, 80% or more just in the last couple of weeks, the ones that I posted, and as well as some of the other ones that I follow and own personally. Again, I'm taking that shotgun approach as I am with the shippers because of the high risk here. Little bits, sprinkle little bits of cash. I don't put more than in any one stock that I'm willing to wake up tomorrow and see the things just wiped out. In fact, I'll get to that in a second, just how risky these things can be. But before I do, well, let's start there. Let me just show you where I found a lot of these ideas. Blue Magic had mentioned a few names, and I did some searching right after that, as I really like the charts. As I mentioned in my original reply to Blue Magic, one thing that I felt very strong about is the technicals on those charts was right up there on a scale 1 to 10, almost a 10, meaning such well-defined trend lines. And I've traded penny stocks and low-price stocks before, and they tend to act, because the fundamentals are, pardon me, crap anyways to begin with. What drives these things is largely the technicals. There's just a subset of traders. Penny stocks are not my main thing. It's not the main thing on the right side of the chart. You won't see these as front page official trade ideas. But with that being said, I know there's a lot of you in the trading room with experience, with various risk tolerance, trading styles. So my job's to, show you what I see, and then you guys figure out on how you see fit to trade it or not trade it. So this is a site I found, marijuanastocks.com. You can type that in, and somewhere here is list of marijuana stocks. I went through, and I haven't even finished. There's so darn many. You can see as I'm scrolling down, there's a lot of them on here. They're all alphabetically. I'm only to the M's right now. And I built a watch list, which I'll show you in a second, and I haven't even finished the whole thing. The funny thing is, as I went through a lot of these, quite a few of these names are gone. They no longer exist. So these were bulletin board, pink sheet stocks, which over time the majority of those just go away. They're priced low, and the companies really don't have a sound business model, and then one day they're just gone. So obviously this site isn't doing very actively updating these. I'm sorry. But what is interesting is, even though they tell you these charts aren't real time, so it's probably a 15-minute delay is my guess, it's a daily chart. So you can kind of see day to day which ones are moving. You can come in here real quickly. Now you can do that too by building a watch list. That's what I watch. I keep an eye on my watch list, but you can see which ones are trending up or down, at least for the day. And if nothing else, you can get some company details here. I also like to use Yahoo, and there's some other sources. Type in a symbol and get details. And as I said, they're not all in the business of growing marijuana. Some of these, I've found some in here that are the finance companies Maybe they finance these seed capital for some of these smaller companies and do other things as well. So you might have some diversity. There's a couple biotechs in here as well, and they may have more diverse pipelines. So, in doing this, if you're looking for, let's just say that you are bullish on the whole cannabis thing. You think that it's going to continue to spread to other states where they legalize it, and eventually maybe at the federal level. Then there is potential there. So what you want to do is maybe look at some of those that are a little more diversified. Maybe some pharmaceutical or biotech companies that have a pony in the race, if you will, and but they also have other things in their pipeline. That way, depending on what type of legislation passes or doesn't pass, it's not going to kill the stock. So enough on that. That just gives you an idea where to get some names. And now let's dive into the charts. All right, cannabis. Here's my watch list. It's relatively short at this time, and believe me, for every 10 or 15 I looked at on that list, I only would add one or two if I saw things compelling on the chart. You can see here from my capitalization list on TC2000. This might not always be accurate, but a lot of these, it doesn't even list a market cap. But here's a couple with 56 million, 200 million. I put blue dots by the ones that I either own or I'm interested in now. I'll go through this. You know what? Let's just go through it in order. I'm going to move it to the left here, click on the first one, and show you. What you see here, that's just very little, very thin. I mean, this is thin to begin with. This is relatively thin volume here. I put my crosshair on there, and let's see what the volume is on that given day. 4.4 thousand shares of a 44-cent stock. However, again, it's technicals. This is what these things are trading off of. So you look at this little channel. There's a little breakout. Not my favorite, but some well-defined levels. You have that reaction high, which comes in perfectly with that gap. That would be a natural target. And remember, when you're trading a penny stock, every little penny counts. There's an 8% gain if it gets there, and if it takes that out, it goes up. Not my favorite, so I'll move on. This one I like. This one I own personally. Not that that should matter or affect anything that you guys are doing, but we had this. There was a little spike there, but either way, I'll draw it that way. You could almost draw it the other way, but like I said, nice divergent low. So I like the technicals on these. So not only is the sector moving, but it's moving after a lot of these stocks put in a divergent low. And again, this is a very well-defined resistance level that was taken out today. So I added that to that position. My next target would be up here around the 329 level. I have another one up here around 408. I'd sell a little below if and when I decide to sell. Right now, there's still momentum in the sector. This one you can see had this thrust up, tagged that downtrend line, pulled back, and then has now moved up impulsively out of that sort of consolidation pullback level. So that's a nice looking one. There's another one I owned, and I posted this in the trading room as well on several occasions, I believe, at least once. AMMJ. You know what I'm going to do for you right now, or for myself, put up the PPO instead of the MACD because of the way these guys have traded. I think the PPO is a better thing to use here. You can see this is sort of an errant spike right there, so we disregard that, and you can see the divergent low that this one put in on the PPO and the RSI, coming in down to these lows, or at least at this point, roughly an equal low right there. But more importantly is the fact it's taken out this downtrend line, and I had that orange level there. That was key resistance, and I think I mentioned that as such in the trading room. So, a move from 20 to 26 cents. It was actually a little higher recently. There's about a 40% pop since it took out that, to the high is almost 45%. So again, don't let the small share price fool you. But that cuts both ways, guys. 20-cent stock goes down to 10 cents. You just lost half your value. And if you lose half your value on a stock, at that point, the stock must do 100%. Not 50, but 100% just to get back to where you started. That's how math works, at least on losses and gains. All right, ATTBF. I don't see much there. I don't have anything marked up. I'm not crazy about that chart. But then again, it does, I shouldn't say not crazy about it. It's divergent low. Just be careful. These thin stocks they can be hard to get into. I always use a limit order on a penny stock. In fact, I think most brokers are going to require it anyways, and to exit. But sometimes you can find that if you're the last guy to exit the party, in other words, these things start to reverse. The market makers will start pulling the spreads apart, and you're trying to get a fill using a limit order. You place your limit order at the bid price, and boom, all of a sudden it doesn't fill. They move it down, so you can get trapped in these things. So if you don't know what you're doing, be careful. Keep your position sizes small, and because a lot of brokers won't allow for standing stop loss orders. You might have to, stop limits can be passed up. You really have to have some time to be in front of the screen on these. So here's this is another one I posted, and this one I own, and I like it. Really like this one. The CANN, General Cannabis. I think this was one of Blue Magic's, if I'm not mistaken. And just a great, look at how well-defined that downtrend line was. Falling wedge pattern, confirmed with bullish divergence. And look at the volume here. You can just make it out but behind, let's try to highlight it for you. See the large volume spike confirming the breakout, punched up through this level. That was a key level that had to take out 76, which it did. It's moving up. It hit that target I had here, the 120 level, pulled back, and consolidated has now punched through there. So my next target, and that's probably where I'm going to book profits if and when it gets there, just under that $2 level. May let some, if the sector's running, sometimes what I'll do is just place a tight trailing stop in or a hard stop and let things ride or pull out partial profits. Again, I can't tell you right now because it depends on how the sector is doing. If the sector still has a lot of momentum and I don't see a lot of these stocks or some of these starting to reverse, sometimes I'll let it ride and, just maybe at the very least I could take out what I put in, have nothing really at that point at risk, pull out my original capital out and let the rest ride. But we'll see. All right, CANV, Cannavest. Nice chart. Downtrend line, well defined. There was a little false breakout, little bull trap right here for about a day, fell right back in, and now it's broken out once again. Typically that second time's a charm if you have a false breakout. Look at the volume coming into this thing as well. This confirms this move up in the sector. This very high volume. Again, it's a penny stock, 50 trading about 52 cents right now. But I like the charts. There's a downtrend line you can watch. So it might want to come in and backtest the downtrend line, and then you have this uptrend line right here. That might be a warning if it breaks, if it comes back below the downtrend line and takes out this uptrend line, might be headed lower. The momentum can leave these stocks as quick as it comes in. So you just have to be nimble, flexible, and you have to be comfortable with watching big percentage gains and losses. But as I mentioned, it's all about your dollar losses and gains. If you put a fraction, I'm talking a small fraction of what you might normally put into something like the Qs, QQQ or SPY, a tenth or a 20th of that, because you're not looking for 10, 20% or 5, 10, 20% gains. You're looking for 50, 100, 200, 300, 400% gains in these things. And and you can get it if it does it. This one, ultimately, if the sector holds up, I'm looking for a move up to that level, about the 228 level. That's, from where, I can't remember exactly where I entered this or posted this, but I think I'm up about 70%, 60%, 70 on this one right now. But from there, I think that was around entry. That's about a 571% return. So it's worth it to sprinkle small amounts of cash if it gets there. And if it doesn't, again, this thing could go to zero. Not that I think it will. But if it gets down here and takes out, I'll probably give that one some room. Again, if the sector's holding up all the way down to about that 23, that's almost 24. So anything under there might take part out there. But like I said, I don't have enough to hurt me. But I'll watch the sector again for momentum. And right now the momentum is to the upside. Volume, you can look at Cara, C-A-R-A, Cara Therapeutics, biotech stock, taking some volume. And this is another example. Here's this is a $200 million company. Share price is, $7.50. So this isn't a penny stock. And you can see the volume, nice trading history. And it just recently hit that 780 price target. I can't recall exactly when I took this. It might have been on the downtrend line break, or no, it might have been afterwards. I think it was. Either way, that was a level, was taken out, this 650-ish level. 780, we had that initial tag followed by a reaction. and you can see why that I have that level there. But this would be my near-term profit target 940, and again we'll play from there. I'd probably be out of the stock at that point if and when it gets there. CBDS, Cannabis Sativa, volume again. Look at this downtrend line and the explosion. Look at that rip. So there's a stock that, I mean, just in one day this sucker went, what was that from? Well, let's just say to that level where I had that target. That was a 300% gain. So it kind of puts into perspective how much these things can move, and even from that point, in the next few days it went up, and there was a 756% gain. So, and it's above that $1 share price, which is nice too. If stocks can hold above there. I don't know if they already where this one's listed, if it's bulletin board pink sheet, but they get. This one might have something behind it. There's got to be some reason, it could be purely momentum driven, but there's good volume, and most importantly, the charts are confirming. And now this is a level it has to hold. That was a line I had there before, punched through, pulled back tested it, and so it needs to hold this line. If it doesn't, next support level is going to be right around the $1 level. The $1 level is usually an important level that penny stocks dance around. When they get above it, they fall back. They tend to hold it from below. Those that have a vested interest in the company try to support a stock above a $1 price range. So, that might be a buyback target if the sector's holding it and comes all the way back to the $1 range, because this was quite an extended run, from where it was. And this one, if it can punch up through these recent highs right here around 370, you have this downtrend line to contend with, and then there's not long-term chart doesn't show much because there wasn't a lot of trading volume there. So, not one that I'd probably chase right now because it's may need a little more work here. But just a chart. This is, this could be also, by the way, flagging type consolidation. You have a strong move. This would be your flagpole of a bull flag or a bullish pennant, the strong move leading up to the flag. And then this is what a breakout would project to, somewhere up around the 1525 level. So do the math from 231 to 1525 if and when it gets there. CBIS, Cannabis Science, nice little chart. We have this downtrend line up here, the blue downtrend line. And you can see how well these things trade off the technicals. Here's a series of downtrends. They walk down in a downtrend and then boom, breakout. You walk down in a downtrend, pretty well defined, boom, breakout. On volume too. Look at all the impulsive candlesticks confirming the volume below. So traders watch these, and even though the primary trend has obviously been down, is down. This is a stock selling at a penny and a half, not even 2 cents a share. So, you're going to be buying block trades in this thing, but be careful, of course, if you don't know what you're doing. I can't say that enough. But there's the latest downtrend line, pop. And this to me looks like a bull flag. And you notice where, see all these pops here that I pointed out on these downtrend lines? You notice where it took those? Every time right up to that downtrend line, pop, downtrend line, the blue primary downtrend line, pop, downtrend line, pop. So my expectation here is, of course, if this momentum continues in the sector, that in the probably very near future, this bearish pennant flag type pattern will probably pop and run up, and that would be our first resistance level. Now, sooner or later, if the sector really holds up, I don't know if there's probably not a fundamental story here in this one. I don't know, you guys. It just takes too long for me to do my due diligence on that. So I'm just trading these guys off the technicals. But that's a 38% run. And then if the downtrend line does get taken out, this would be a price target, a very nice price target around 4.8 cents, 0.48. All right, let's move on. We're about halfway through the list. CCAN, Canadian Cannabis, very low volume. When you see these candlesticks like this, that means that's a thin stock, even all these little gappy suckers. With that being said, a little flag type pattern and then a target level up here around 310, about a 276% return if it gets there. Again, those lower volume ones, that's the ones, those you really adjust your your position down to the amount that you're willing to lose if that trade goes wrong. Don't put too much into these. You guys can get wiped out. You can make a lot of money and you can lose a lot. Cannagrow Holdings, CGRW. This is a key resistance level. It's been pushing at this previous reaction high. We had this downtrend line you can see here, zooming in. Well defined, nice breakout. Fell just shy of that level, came back in, and it's pushing back up. So, and you can see the volume too on that breakout, volume confirming. So again, this, no doubt, the sector is catching a bid, and that's why I'm doing this video. And if these guys weren't so risky and so low priced, some of the, well, I take that back. I may put some of the larger, biotech companies that have more diversified operations on as active trades. But at this point, I just want to share this for those of you that are interested in this type of thing. Here's CHUM, CHUM, Chuma Holdings. There's a nice positive divergent, low. You can see here the positive divergence in place. There's the candlestick. I don't know if you can make it out today. Oh no, that was one from the other day. So this stock actually just broke out today. Not really on volume yet. That you can barely make out the candlestick there. It's just above that downtrend line. But one to watch. If it follows through, this would be the first target, 0.579 unadjusted for fills. Again, I'd sell a little before the actual target level. You're going to have a decent spread in these anyways because they're thinly traded. In other words, a spread is a difference between the bid and the ask price. When you go to sell, you don't sell at the at the ask price, which is the higher of the two. You sell at the bid price, the lower of the two. So keep that in mind, and that's another reason you want to put your if that's your target, you sell a little early. But ultimately, this one, I could see it heading up to this level, though. 0.1447 is that level. And then this downtrend line here. Again, all depending on how. This could be just the momentum players coming in. The broad markets are still holding up, so it's risk on right now. And I say that, but I also mentioned that in the past that sometimes these penny stocks, these obscure names and sectors, the broad market can be falling apart, and sometimes you see these things do well because they're not held by institutions. They're not coming under selling pressure when the mutual funds are having to experience forced selling. And sometimes the traders, I've seen these little names do good during a bear market or a correction in the broad market. So trade the charts for what they are, really. As long as these charts remain constructive. Not a divergent low because we had this low here, but nice downtrend line here. I have parallel downtrend lines. This was the primary downtrend line here, and this one's a potential. It just runs parallel to that one. You can see a breakout, pullback. These are support levels here, and this would be the next target. That reaction high comes in back here, and so the stock is about 35 cents now, and that target level, the top of that is almost 80 cents. 79.8 cents, so target would be a little bit below that. All right, a couple more. Let's skip that one. I don't see much there. Easton Pharmaceuticals, EAPH is a symbol on this one. There's a downtrend line to watch. I can't recall if I've set an alert. Let me set it now just in case. And there's a nice level, 0.7. And then 0.82 would probably be the initial target, that top one there. But that's very low price, very thin. This one, like this one a little bit better, more consistent volume across the board. We had this nice, pretty well-defined downtrend line breakout back test here, back test of the trend line, and then has since moved up. You could draw a wrong tool there. I can draw an uptrend line to kind of keep an eye on right now. And this is the horizontal resistance level. It's at 0.0378. If that gets taken out, that one could run. Can't see a solid target, but I would say up to at least that area there, about 8 cents, a little over 8 cents, 8.2 cents. ENRT, you can draw a downtrend line there and some patterns, things to watch, but it's pretty thin. That one's not my cup of tea. ERBB, American Green. Let's draw this divergent low. Let's highlight this. common theme with a lot of these stocks. It's what I like to see. These are daily charts, by the way, I'm going through if I didn't mention it. So there's your positive divergence on the PPO, sort of a price channel, if you will, because those lines are parallel. And I have a horizontal level here, and let's add, reaction highs are always a biggie. We had some resistance back here, or support, I should say, at that point, and then we came back up. So that to me is a little bit more significant than that previous reaction high. So that one I basically would just want to see a punch up above this trend line. And again, I may already have an alert set. Did I do that properly? Set alert. There, okay. I created a trend line instead. All right, so yeah, so that would be a pop above that level, and looks pretty thin all up in here at the thin zone on the volume price histogram. So this would be ultimately, again, if the sector gets traction. I just can't emphasize that enough. I think the charts do a great job of predicting where prices are going, but the broad market, I have my concerns on the broad U.S. market, and again, this is just a momentum stock with little to no fundamental story behind most of these. But maybe there is something there. Maybe there's something brewing in Washington that I'm not aware of. That's going to be a big boom for the marijuana stocks. And if it is, you're not gonna know about it by the time you read about it in the paper. Those in the know have already bid these things up way beyond the point. The good gains will be made when the insiders know what's going to go on. So that's one reason that I'll put some money in these and might even tuck a little away if the sector continues to improve. So that would be my first target anyway. So a break on the trend line, just to be clear, you can replicate that. Use a log scaling on your chart. And first target there is about 0.0046 with the next one and final target at 0.0116. Again, setting your sell limits just below that. Here's a bigger company, Full Circle Capital. I might have mentioned this one in the trading room. I can't remember if I even put this as an official trade idea, but I'm pretty certain I posted this chart. So here's a financial service company. I believe they might seed a lot of these small cannabis companies. Either way, nice chart, clean downtrend line, divergent low, which I like to see. You see prices making a lower low against a PPO and the RSI making a higher low. So that one broke out and has flagged or moved down in this. Yeah, it's a bull flag, certainly a bull flag. And if and when that one breaks out, what I've done here is taken the measurement of the flagpole, added it to the bottom of the flag at the lowest point, and that would take me right up to about, see this first target level I have? Let's give you a number here, right at $3. And this is how I trade. This is the projected measurement, any TA book will tell you to do that. But if I have a pretty key resistance level, too nearby, as I do here, I also have a level at 322, I would set my sell limit just below the first one because more likely that resistance is going to come into play. So the projected measurements just give me a guide how far that one might go if and when that flag breaks out. So to quantify it, we're at 248 now. Let's grab that number. Well, I'll put it at I grabbed it. 248 up to $3 or 298 there. That's a 20% pop. And again, this isn't a penny stock. It's low priced. It's under the $5 range, but it's it's $2.50 a share. Decent volume across the board. You're not huge. It's only a $56 million company, but that's still better than a lot of the others. So on this one, point being, you could put 3, 4, 5 times or more what you would put in some of those little tiny penny stocks. Because you have inherently less risk. And again, I haven't done my due diligence. You can do that. I haven't scrubbed any of these for earnings. Well, a lot of those guys don't worry because they're not making anything. But that's that. All right, guys. I have one more. Sorry. GRNH, and this is actually one that I believe Blue Magic mentioned. I own one of my favorite. I posted quite a few charts in the trading room on this one. Nice chart here. Green Grow Technologies. Look at the volume. Can you see the volume right here all the way in the last few months? This one was a big bullish falling wedge, a well-defined downtrend line that I'm highlighting right here. Nice positive divergence into the lows. So that formed this wedge here. This one broke out. Just textbook technical analysis here. See the bull flag right here that I've drawn? So you had a flagpole, which is the move leading up to the flag, and you had a breakout already, and we're about halfway through. And to me, this is just, I have a green line here because that's a screaming target in my opinion. This was a minor target level that I had here, and you can see we punched through it with the momentum, pulled back, and we're back testing that. So, this one is actually an objective entry right here at this point, in my opinion. The ideal entry was down here, before and during the consolidation, the flag breakout, right after the breakout of the uptrend line. But, I've continued to scale into a couple of these. This one, I'm pretty sure I have my full allotment. I'm not going to add to that. And I will take out full profits on that because that is a very formidable, not a very formidable, I probably shouldn't use such a strong word, but a pretty decent target area. It aligns fairly well with the bull flag, even though it went a little above there. But it would be a nice quick run, and then I can always recycle back in if the sector still looks good later on. So those are my picks as of now, or at least my favorites, or the ones on my watch list. As I mentioned, there's still more. I haven't gone through everything in that original list of all those cannabis stocks from that other website, but you can get ideas there yourself. And if you guys see any you like, pass them along by all means. So once again, thanks, kudos to Blue Magic for putting these on our radar. And if you have any questions on them, post them. Just send me a private message or post it in the trading room. This has been Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart. Hope you enjoyed it.